Hello everyone and welcome back once again to the channel. The devs at Fenix just released their A319/A321 expansion pack earlier this week, and in today's video we'll be taking the 19 for a quick flight from Boston Logan International Airport to Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington DC. Be sure to stick around till the end of the video because we'll be doing the famous river visual for runway 19er, which takes us along many famous Washington monuments. And if the weather is clear, we'll have some great views on approach. Be sure to do a touch and go on that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And now without any further ado, let's jump straight into the flight deck and get going. So here we are inside the A319 flight deck. As you guys can see, I've already put the aircraft in a sort of turnaround state. I've gone ahead and engaged the external power, done all the pre-flight checks, I've programmed the route. We still need to do the departure and arrival into the FMC, and we also need to do the perf and all of that. But other than that, the aircraft has already been boarded, so we can dismiss that message. We can go ahead and turn on the fasten seatbelt sign. And now that all the passengers are on board, we can also go ahead and start the APU. So we'll do that first, and then we'll go ahead and continue in the FMC. There we go, there's the flap open message. We can now start the APU, and right away we'll engage the APU bleed as well. So we are departing via the VATSIM RNAV departure today via runway 27. This departure dictates that we fly initially on a runway heading of 272. Then we have to intercept the 237 radial to the Kira waypoint, and from there we are going to fly straight to the VATS waypoint. So it's a pretty easy departure. Top altitude is 5,000 feet, and the transition altitude, because we are in America, that will be 18,000 feet. So not a terribly complicated departure. We have no speed restrictions, only a top altitude. A boss departure, departing via 27 today. We're gonna have a pretty much a headwind and maybe a bit of a crosswind, but that will be not more than 1 knot, I think. And we'll take the VATS-7 departure like so, insert that. So as for the arrival, we are going to fly the RNAV Zulu approach runway 19. This is an RNAV approach which takes us right about all the way to the runway. We are, however, just going to use this RNAV approach for some vertical and lateral guidance, but we are mainly going to focus on flying the approach visually, if the weather allows us to do that, of course. And we are going to fly via the Clipper 3 departure, which we'll brief later in the video. For now, we can just program in RNAV Zulu for runway 19 via the Clipper 3. And this approach has no VS, so we'll just insert that. Now we can go to the performance page, and we are going to do our performance calculations with the EFB. So, departure performance. Taking runway 27, dry conditions, we are going to use the packs for departure. Sync that with the load sheet, sync the weather. That gives us a V1 of 125, V rotate of 125, and V2 of 128. Flaps 2 for departure with up 0.3. Makes sense that we're using flaps 2 because runway 27 is not the longest runway, but good thing we are in the A319. And we're using a flex temperature of 80 degrees, so that's quite high. So we'll send that to the MCDU. That way we don't have to input all of this manually. And we'll check that everything is put in correctly, which it is. So while they are lifting the aircraft, we can go ahead and turn on the beacon light now. Fuel pumps are on.
Okay, cleared for push start.
And
Release parking brake.
the transponder can go on as well, squawking 2000 because we're not flying online. Parking brake can now be released. We'll go to ignition start, and we'll start the chrono as well.
Pushback, you can start.
Ladies and gentlemen, please observe the cabin crew member closest to you as we are about to demonstrate the safety features aboard our Airbus A319. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard our Airbus A319. Please pay attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures. The safety card found in your seat pocket contains important information about exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets, and the brace position, which you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. Emergency exits on this aircraft. The cabin crew are now pointing out the exits nearest to you. Please be aware that your nearest...
So, looks like we have two good running engines. That's great. APU can now come off, as well as the APU bleed. Go ahead and set auto brakes to max. Arm the speed brakes, set the ignition back to normal, and we'll select flaps 2 for departure. While the flaps are extending, we can go ahead and set our trim of up to 0.3. And we'll do a quick flight control check as well. Full right rudder checked, neutral, full left rudder checked, and neutral. Flight controls are free and correct. Back to the system page, and we'll do a quick config check. Everything is in the green, so that's great. So now that we are ready for taxi, I can also show off a new feature I have in Flight Simulator. I can now move my head, and the camera in Sim also moves. Some of you might already know this. This is called TrackIR 5. It's something that you can put on a hat or on your headphones, and it tracks your head movement via a sensor that you can put on your monitor. I can highly recommend this for Flight Simulator, because since I've been using this, I've gotten so used to it that flying without it feels quite weird. So this is a nice thing to have, especially during our visual approach here. Anyway, you're going to see this in action plenty in this video, so we'll go ahead and turn on the taxi light, and we'll start the taxi to the runway. Parking brake released. We'll do a quick brake check. That's gonna be the cabin to tell us they are ready for takeoff. I'm gonna answer that in just a second.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Thank you very much. And we'll reset that. Here we are now approaching runway 27. We're gonna taxiway all the way to the end here. Can start to extend the landing lights, turn on the runway turn-off lights and the takeoff nose light. Strobe lights can go on as well, and we'll turn on the landing lights as well. Transponder can go to TARA, and we'll give the flight attendants a call to make sure they are ready. And it's going to be a standing departure, so we're not gonna keep rolling down the runway. As I said before, it's quite a short runway, so we want to use all the room we can get. So, forward pressure on the yoke. About 40% N1. That's stable. Flex SRS runway auto thrust blue is checked. Airspeed's alive. There's 80 knots. 100 knots. V1, rotate. And positive rate, gear up. And we'll start making a left turn. Taxi light and runway turn-off lights can go off now. And we can also disarm speed brakes. Airspeed is increasing, so we can go ahead and select climb power now. And we'll go flaps 1. And then flaps up. So, welcome back guys to the flight deck. I hope you enjoyed those nice little views during the cruise phase. We are just about getting close to the top of descent, so this is a good time to start briefing the arrival. And also start doing the performance calculations and all of that good stuff. So first let me just quickly stow all of these sun blinds again. We're not gonna need those during our arrival. So now we can see everything out of the window again. First thing we are going to do is we're gonna input all the arrival data for the FMC. So the altimeter at the moment at Washington is 3020. Temperature of 14 degrees. And the wind is coming from 350 at 5. So as you can see, runway 9 wouldn't be the optimal runway to use during this approach or for this flight. But because we want to do the river visual, of course, we'll just have to deal with whatever winds we can get during the approach. As for the minimums, it's going to be 491 feet above sea level. So now that that's set, we can also go ahead and set our final approach altitude, which is going to be initially 2,700 feet, so we'll go to all the way down to 3,000 and then switch to 100 feet increments, and we'll set it to 2,700. That's going to be our initial descent altitude, and our final approach altitude is going to be 2,000 feet before we intercept the final approach course or final approach path. Still have 27 nautical miles to go till our top of drop, so that gives us ample time to brief this arrival. So like I said earlier in the video, we're going to fly the Clipper 3 RNAV arrival. Not much to see on the chart except a altitude restriction at Clipper of 12,000 feet, and then at the Baltimore VOR 10,000 feet with a speed restriction of 250 knots, but that's to be expected because we are going to be at 10,000 feet there. And then we are going to continue on our arrival till about the waypoint MX, where we are going to make our left turn to join the approach. Because like I said, the NACE waypoint takes us pretty far out, and it's not really necessary to go that far out. We'll have plenty of room to descend to the correct altitude and slow down. So somewhere between MX and NACE we are going to make our left turn to join the approach, which looks like this. This approach takes us along the, I think it's the Potomac River. And this blue area, which you can see, that's where the White House and the Washington Monument is and all of that. So we definitely don't want to fly over that. But as you can see, the approach takes us to the right of that. We're probably going to do most of this visually and just use this as some extra guidance. So go around procedure. If we for some reason need to go around, we're going to fly, continue on the approach path and climb to 3,000 feet. And then after we've crossed the runway, we're going to go straight ahead to the Baden waypoint, where we would hold and then figure out what to do next. Now that we've done that, we have just arrived at our top of descent. So I'll go ahead and start the descent right about now. While that's doing its thing, we can also do our arrival performance. So KDCA runway 19 will assume the conditions are dry, we'll apply the METAR, and our landing weight, if we take a look at the SimBrief OFP, the estimated landing weight should be 54.7, like so. So as you can see, with low auto brake we would have to use quite a lot of the runway, so we'll use medium auto brake. And idle reverse should be good, so that gives us a nice point to vacate the runway. On the final part of the arrival procedure. Over there we can see the airport already. There's the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Monument, which we'll have a great view of during our approach, because as you can see, not a single, well, almost not a single cloud in the sky. That one just spawned in. We've got a few clouds over there, but overall it should be a very nice visual approach. Some nice views. We'll double check that our altimeter is still the same, which it isn't. It's now 3018, so we'll change that. Like so. Auto brake still medium. And we have now begun our final turn on this arrival procedure. So at mix, we're going to continue straight ahead for a little bit longer. And then after that we're going to make a left turn towards the direct waypoint. Now from there it's going to get a bit hectic because we already need to be at 180 knots at that waypoint. So from there we are going to start configuring the aircraft for a landing. We want to be configured quite early during this approach, so yeah, it's get a bit busy during the approach, but we should be able to manage it. There's the Potomac River. So right about here should probably be good. So let's select there and insert that. So now the aircraft is going to do a little bit of a nosedive to get back on profile, but that's fine. In the last approach I did with the A320, it managed quite well to get back on profile in time, so not really quite worried about this. So the vertical and lateral deviation indicators are already alive. I've disabled FLS on the aircraft because I prefer these things over the FLS system. If you're not sure what FLS is, I made a video about this in the A320 EFB settings, so you can check that out after this video. But this is just the classic RNAV indicators, I guess. I prefer these over the FLS indicators for some reason. So we are now back on profile. The aircraft is decelerating to 108 knots. It's already activated approach mode, so we are going to stop the deceleration at 180 knots because we don't need to slow down all the way to our approach speed just yet. And there's 27,000 feet, so I'm going to select our final approach altitude of 2,000 feet. So you can select flaps 1 already. We want to be configured quite early on this approach, just so we can focus on the landing portion. And I'm going to take the speed out of manage mode and set it to 180 for now. And actually we can go back into manage mode because we want to slow down quite. Okay, so flaps 2 already. Aircraft will now descend towards 2,000 feet normally. And then at the Sunni waypoint we'll engage approach mode. Actually, we can do that now, probably. So, approach nav is active. The 500 feet is checked. We'll go gear down. Set the runway turn-off lights and taxi lights, and we'll notify the flight attendants. Spoilers can be armed. Auto brake is set. And final approach is active. Gears down 3 green, so go around altitude 3000 is set. We'll go flaps 3. Our approach speed is going to be 125 knots. And we can go ahead and take over from the autopilot now. My aircraft. So we pretty much want to fly along the river. I'm going to turn off the flight director as well because it's quite distracting. And we are just going to use the RNAV indicators as a visual cue. Oh, flaps full, gears down, 3 green. Spoilers are armed. Oh, TrackIR is glitching up a bit. Don't want to get too high. So right in front of us is the Lincoln Monument and the Washington Monument. Speed is good. We're still on profile, more or less. And there's the runway. We don't want to overfly all of these monuments, of course. There's the Pentagon. Right about on our right window. 1,000 feet is checked. We're getting a bit low. Alright. Still good on the lateral deviation. We're back on the lights. It's going to make our final turn. The runway.
500.
Right about now, 500 is checked.
Minimum.
Continue.
400.
I think I see 2 reds and 2 whites, so we're good.
200.
A bit high now.
100. 50. 20. Retard. Retard.
That was a pretty rough landing. Didn't hear the call out there. Down, reversers out. Not my best landing, but it's my first time landing the Fenix A319, so it's flies pretty much the same, but they do have some subtle differences, so yeah. Anyway, we're down. Welcome to Washington Ronald Reagan National Airport. I think that's the full name. Vacate to the right of the runway here. Speed brakes can go in, flaps can come up. Back lights can come off now as well. Here's our gate, right at the end. Start. That's going to conclude today's video. I must admit, while making this video I realized this wouldn't be my best work. I haven't really done a full flight video like this in a while. And while I was recording the flight, a lot of things were going on at my house and I had to pause the flight a couple of times because of it. But I hope that despite my sometimes chaotic commentary, you guys still enjoyed the video. I did try to make this full flight video a bit more interesting by incorporating some external views and wing views and so on. So let me know down below in the comments if you thought this was an improvement. And if you guys want to see the A321 on the channel as well, the best way to let me know would be to either like the video or comment down below. That's all for today. Thanks for sticking around and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.